this situation with the so-called Great Game when they carved all this area up without thinking about what the implications were going to be. So now these are the results of that, plus foreign intervention, fueling the fire with armaments. And they keep using these words. You mentioned Al-Qaeda, ISIS. You know, they keep making up this stuff. These are criminals. They're criminal organizations. When you read back, for example, and we have it in the Trends Journal, the last edition, days after 9/11, they already started promoting the Islamic fundamentalists as bombing the World Trade Center. And even using President Bush's words, a person by the name of, those are his words,
Osama bin Laden.
Thank you, Osama bin Laden.
Yes.
So now they're using Islam, Muslim, they're playing the game. These are murderers. They have nothing to do with religion. They're mafias, and there are groups of them. This is what happens in any country that's ripped with ongoing civil war, and the strongest groups are taking control. And they're hiding behind the flag of a religion to commit their crimes, and the other people are using that to also make it easy for us to hate a religion rather than the sick people that are committing the crime. Going to get worse unless this killing, the excuse for the murder from both sides stops, and the situation is cooled down. The more armaments that keep flowing in, the more anger that keeps being expressed, the more murders that are being committed, the worse it's going to go. And again, it's spreading throughout the region. It's on fire. You mentioned Iraq. You mentioned Syria. We know what's going on in Israel. They hardly talk about the civil war in Yemen. They rarely mention the word Bahrain. Why? Couldn't be because the Fifth Fleet is stationed there, and there's a civil war going on over there. The UN resolutions that they keep violating, and that follows the 1967 war. And until that happens, all I see is more bloodshed and violence. The tunnels, that's one side of the story, and then there's a big other side of the story. Every couple of months, Israel keeps taking more land, and they keep calling it settlements. You know, I was thinking about this, obviously, and any time you say something, matter of fact, I heard Howard Stern go off, and to paraphrase what he said, anyone that says that they're anti-Israel is anti-American, I resent that. I don't want my money as an American, I don't want it going to Israel. I'm Italian descent. I don't want it going to Italy. I don't want it going to Ireland. I don't want it going to anywhere. I'm an American. I believe in no foreign entanglements. Number two, I started looking at this. No, you can't call somebody an anti-Semite that does not agree with what Netanyahu said, what Sharon before him, Omer, Perez, Golda Meir, or many of the others. They're Ashkenazi. They are not Semites. And as I'm looking at this as I mentioned earlier about the Great Game where the French and the English and others that were colonial powers in that region destabilized the entire region. As I'm looking what's going on in Israel, I see the Ashkenazi, which most of them are from Eastern Europe, as a colonial movement in that area that has destabilized it. So if anybody has a criticism of what I'm saying, fine, let's stick with the facts. But you cannot call anyone that says that they're opposed to what's going on over here and throw out that cheap line to let's divert the issue of calling them an anti-Semite. You can possibly call them an anti-Ashkenazi. And not to say that you're against all Ashkenazi, of course. But this is a European sect that has invaded this country in a sense that They keep gobbling up more and more land. And as I see it, God was not a real estate agent, and the Bible wasn't a land deed. Number two, for Israel to abide by 1967 and other following UN resolutions that they are in violation of, because any time that these other countries are against and violate UN resolutions, the United States is the first one that goes out and attacks these other countries for violation of UN resolutions. So what's good for the rest of the world should be good for Israel, that just came out and said that he wanted to eliminate the whole area of Palestinians. The belief is if Israel is going to call itself a democracy, have a one-state solution. All people are created equal. That's how I see it. Number two, to bring the warring parties to the table and agree. If Israel abides by UN resolutions, will Hamas agree to Israel's right to exist? So let's start with a point. And that would be my beginning point. Everybody, because there's a couple of officials are saying that Israel doesn't have the right to exist. So let's go with the Israeli parliamentarian that said, let's get all the Palestinians out of there. Because as if you put up on your screen the map of what Israel looked like in 1948 when it was granted that statehood, and look at it now, let's look at the difference of how much land Israel has stolen since that time.
Well, some people, the Israelis would say they won it in war. And
reports coming out about what the Palestinians have, the rockets, and they hide these weapons in so-called mosques and churches, and etc.
Do. That's pretty well documented.
With a lot of people there, and anywhere you put something, there's going to be people.
And why have the armaments?
Here's what Israel has. They have
yes, you said 226
F-16 fighters, 700 M60 tanks, 6,000 armored personnel carriers, scores of transport planes, attack helicopters, bombs, missiles, and you go down the list.
Yes, I understand that. I agreed. I agree with that point. But
going on your logic, you could win the war and say, hey, we won the war, therefore increase at the level that it is. It'll be hell for everyone. Because there's also the fear that this could spread into the Lebanese border.
Yes.
And if anybody that doesn't have attention deficit disorder, Israel lost the battle against Hezbollah in Lebanon. And Lebanon, the Hezbollah, has the ability, not these homemade little projectile. You asked me what will happen. As a trend forecaster, I am saying to you, if peace is not brought to that region, and this continues to spread, and if it goes into Lebanon, it will be hell on earth for everyone in that region.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Anger is that peace isn't being pushed forward. That's my anger. My anger is people making excuses for slaughter, whether it's there, whether it's in Nigeria, whether it's in Syria, wherever. Whether it's in Ukraine. I am sick of hearing politicians giving reasons to slaughter innocent people. I've had it. Because we're building up to World War III. They just celebrated the 100th anniversary of World War I. A totally avoidable war by the accounts of any historian worth more than 25 cents. A war that was started by madmen. And you're seeing the same thing happen now. People calling for more violence. And I'm a man of peace. I am also a person, and I'm not a pacifist, just to make that clear. I'm a close combat practitioner. If anybody tries to attack me, somebody's going to die and it's not going to be me. So I'm not a pacifist. I believe in doing unto others as they will do unto you. I believe on peace on earth. I am a Catholic. I believe in the teachings of Christ. I want peace. And one of the movements that I'm starting is OccupyPeace.us. No other countries are allowed. I don't want anybody else here. You want to do your own peace movement, do your own. I'm in colonial Kingston. The roots of democracy founded here. The 1777 Senate House is not more than a stone's throw away. Every one of the founding fathers, from Washington, from Franklin to Adams, every one of them, Madison, no foreign entanglements. There were world wars going on then too. Europe was a disaster. War is not new. I believe in the principles upon which this nation was founded. No foreign entanglements. Our country is going down the tubes economically. You know the deal. You see how people are living. What's the new report that came out? Some 25% of children are living in poverty. The roads look like crap. The infrastructure stinks. The jobs are lousy. And we're fighting in wars. No mortal war is my motto.